I caught my mother-in-law dancing in a flamingo costume and posted it online. You won't believe what she did next. It all started with a rose bush, or at least that's what I thought. Picture this: a quiet Saturday morning in June, the kind where the sun is just warm enough to make you feel alive, but not so hot that you're sweating through your shirt. I was out in my backyard, kneeling in the dirt, my hands covered in soil as I fussed over my pride and joy. A rose bush I'd been trying to save for months. The thing was a mess when I first got it. Wilted leaves, thorny stems that looked like they'd given up on life, but I'd been nursing it back to health with the kind of care most people reserve for a newborn. I'm a bit of a plant nerd, if you couldn't tell. My name's Jake, and I've been obsessed with gardening ever since I was a kid, pulling weeds in my grandma's backyard for a couple of bucks and a glass of lemonade. I live in a small house in a sleepy Oregon suburb, the kind of place where the biggest drama is when someone forgets to mow their lawn for a week. It's just me, my wife Lisa, and her mum, Margaret, who moved in with us last year after her husband passed away. Lisa and I have been married for 5 years now, and we're good together. She's a nurse, always running off to the hospital for long shifts, but she's got this laugh that can light up a room, even when she's exhausted. We met at a friend's barbecue. She spilled a plate of potato salad on my lap, apologized a million times, and I knew right then I was going to marry her. We don't have kids yet, but we've got our little garden out back, and I treat it like my own personal kingdom. There's a row of tomatoes I'm trying to keep the squirrels away from, a patch of lavender that smells like heaven, and that rose bush, which I swear I talk to more than I talk to most people. I've got a little YouTube channel called Jake's Green Thumb, where I film videos about gardening. It's not a big deal. Last I checked, I had about 3,000 subscribers, and I'm pretty sure half of them are bots. But I love it. I work as a cashier at a hardware store during the day, scanning barcodes and listening to old guys argue about the best brand of duct tape, so the channel is my escape. I'll set up my tripod in the backyard, hit record, and ramble on about soil pH or the best way to prune a shrub. My videos don't exactly scream viral. My most popular one, a tutorial on composting, has 1,200 views, but every time I get a comment from someone saying they tried my tips and their plants are thriving, it feels like I've won the lottery. That morning, I was setting up to film a new video about watering roses. I had my camera on the tripod, my script scribbled on a piece of paper, and a big glass of iced tea sitting on the picnic table nearby. I was in my element, wearing my favorite faded flannel shirt and a pair of gardening gloves that were so worn they had holes in the fingers. "Hey, green thumbers," I started, giving my usual awkward wave to the camera. "Today we're talking about hydration. Your roses need love, but not too much. Let's get started." I was halfway through explaining how to check soil moisture when I noticed Margaret out of the corner of my eye. Margaret, Lisa's mum, is a force of nature. She's 58, a retired school teacher, and she's got this way of looking at you that makes you feel like you're about to get sent to the principal's office. She's been living with us for a year now, and let's just say we don't exactly get along. She's always been a little cold to me ever since Lisa and I started dating. I think it's because I showed up to their family Christmas party one year with a Santa hat that played jingle bells when you pressed a button. She called it tacky and didn't speak to me for the rest of the night. Since she moved in, she's been on my case about everything. She hates the way I leave my gardening tools on the porch. "You're going to trip someone, Jake." And she's constantly complaining about my YouTube channel. "Why don't you get a real hobby?" she'll say, rolling her eyes as she knits another scarf in the living room. "No one cares about your little plant videos." Margaret's the kind of woman who always looks put together, pastel cardigans, grey hair in a neat bun, reading glasses hanging on a chain around her neck. She spends her days knitting, gossiping with her book club friends over the phone, and baking cookies for the neighbors like she's auditioning for the role of perfect grandma. But there's always been something about her that makes me think she's hiding something. Maybe it's the way she'll disappear into the garden for hours and come back with dirt on her shoes, claiming she was just checking the roses. Or the way she'll snap at me if I get too close to the shed, like she's got some big secret stashed in there. I've never had the guts to ask, but that morning, I was about to find out more than I ever wanted to know. I was about 10 minutes into filming my rose watering tutorial, sweat beading on my forehead as I tried to sound like I knew what I was talking about. The sun was climbing higher, and I could feel the back of my neck starting to burn. I'd forgotten to put on sunscreen again, a habit Lisa always teased me about. "You're going to look like a lobster one of these days," she'd say, shaking her head as she slathered aloe on me after a long day in the garden. I smiled at the thought, adjusting my camera to get a better angle on the rosebush. I was in the middle of explaining how to avoid root rot when I heard it, a faint, rhythmic beat like something out of an 80s workout video. At first, I thought it was coming from a neighbour's yard. We live on a quiet street, but sometimes the guy next door blasts his old school tunes while he's washing his car. I ignored it, focusing on my script, but the music got louder, and then I heard humming. I glanced up, squinting across the garden, and that's when I saw her. Margaret was near the shed, her back to me, and she was moving in a way I'd never seen before. She wasn't just walking, she was dancing. And not just any dancing, she was wearing a bright pink flamingo costume, the kind you'd see at a kid's birthday party or a Halloween store clearance sale. It had a feathered tail that bounced with every step, a beak mask that covered half her face, and these ridiculous little wings that flapped as she waved her arms around. I blinked, thinking maybe I'd been out in the sun too long. Margaret, my Margaret, the woman who once lectured me for 20 minutes about the proper way to fold a fitted sheet, was twirling in circles, her hips swaying to the beat of some cheesy pop song I vaguely recognized. "Oh, oh, oh! Let's dance the night away!" The lyrics blared from a small Bluetooth speaker she'd set up on the picnic table. She spun around, kicking one leg out like she was in a Broadway musical, and I swear I saw her do a little shimmy that made the feathers on her costume flutter like she was about to take flight. My brain short-circuited. I forgot I was still recording, my camera capturing every second of this spectacle. I should have looked away, I should have turned the camera off and pretended I hadn't seen anything, but instead, I did the worst possible thing. I laughed. Not a quiet chuckle either. It was a full-on, snorting, doubled-over laugh that echoed across the yard. I couldn't help it. The sight of Margaret, the queen of passive-aggressive comments and perfectly pressed cardigans, prancing around in a flamingo costume, was the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my life. She must have heard me, because she froze mid-twirl, her beak mask slipping down her face, just enough for me to see her eyes widen in horror. "Jake!" she shrieked, her voice a mix of shock and fury. She yanked the mask off, her grey bun coming loose as she stormed toward me, her feathered tail dragging behind her like a defeated parade float. "What are you doing? Are you filming me? Turn that camera off, right now!" I fumbled with the camera, my hands shaking as I tried to hit the stop button. I was just filming my roses," I stammered, my face burning from trying to hold back another laugh. "I didn't mean to, I didn't see anything." But it was too late. She reached the picnic table, snatched her speaker, and turned off the music with a dramatic jab of her finger. The silence that followed was deafening. She stood there, her chest heaving, her face as red as the tomatoes I'd been trying to grow all summer. "If you show that to anyone, Jake," she hissed, pointing a trembling finger at me, "I swear I'll make your life a living hell." I swallowed hard, nodding like a bobblehead. "Got it. I won't show anyone. Promise." But even as I said it, I knew I was lying. Margaret stomped back inside, slamming the door so hard I heard the windows rattle. I stood there for a moment, still processing what I'd just witnessed. My mother-in-law had a secret flamingo dance routine. She'd been doing it in our garden, right under my nose, probably for years. The shed, her weird protectiveness over it. It all made sense now. That's where she must have been keeping the costume, her little escape from the world of knitting and book club gossip. I should have deleted the footage right then and there, but when I played it back on my camera, I couldn't stop laughing. It was too good. I mean, this was the kind of thing that could go viral. My ticket to finally making it big on YouTube. I thought about showing it to Lisa first, just to get her reaction. She'd always been my biggest supporter, even when my videos only got 50 views. She'd sit on the couch with me, a bowl of popcorn between us, and watch my tutorials, pretending to be interested in the difference between peat moss and peat. "You're going to be famous one day," she'd say, kissing my cheek. I can feel it. That night, after Lisa got home from her shift, I pulled her into the living room, my laptop already open. "You have to see this," I said, barely containing my grin. I hit play, and as the footage of Margaret dancing filled the screen, Lisa's eyes widened. She clapped a hand over her mouth, her shoulders shaking as she tried to hold in her laughter. By the time Margaret did her little shimmy, Lisa was on the floor, tears streaming down her face. "Oh my God, Jake," she gasped, wiping her eyes. "This is the funniest thing I've ever seen. You have to post this." I hesitated. Margaret's threat was still fresh in my mind, and I knew she'd kill me if she found out. But Lisa was right. This video was gold. I'd never had a video go viral before, and this could be my big break. "You think I should?" I asked, glancing at the screen. The view counter on my channel dashboard was still stuck at 3,000 subscribers, a number that hadn't budged in months. I'd been dreaming of hitting 10,000, maybe even getting a sponsor. This could be my chance. "Absolutely," Lisa said, still giggling. "People will love it. Mum will get over it. She's got to have a sense of humor somewhere under all those cardigans." I wasn't so sure about that, but the temptation was too strong. I spent the next hour editing the clip, adding some goofy background music and a title, "My Mother-in-Law's Secret Flamingo Dance," and hit upload. As the video processed, I felt a mix of excitement and dread. What if Margaret found out? What if she really did make my life a living hell? But then I saw the first view come in, then another and another. By the next morning, the video had gained over 500,000 views. By the end of the day, it was at 2 million. My little gardening channel had gone viral overnight, but I had no idea the storm that was coming. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing like it was possessed. I rolled over, rubbing the sleep from my eyes, and grabbed it off the nightstand. My notifications were out of control. Hundreds of comments, likes, and new subscribers pouring in. I opened YouTube and my jaw dropped. The Flamingo video had hit 2 million views overnight, and my subscriber count had jumped from 3,000 to 15,000. I couldn't believe it. I'd done it. I'd gone viral. I scrolled through the comments, a grin spreading across my face. "Flamingo Grandma is my new hero," one person wrote. "This is the best thing on the internet," said another. Someone even made a meme of Margaret mid-twirl with the caption, "When you realize it's Friday." I felt like I was on top of the world. That feeling lasted about 5 seconds. I heard the front door slam, followed by Margaret's voice echoing through the house like a foghorn. "Jake, get down here right now!" My stomach dropped. I glanced at Lisa, who was still asleep beside me, her hair a mess on the pillow. She hadn't heard the commotion yet, but I knew I was in for it. I threw on a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt, my heart pounding as I crept downstairs. Margaret was standing in the living room, her arms crossed, her face a shade of red I'd never seen before. She was holding her phone, and on the screen was my video, paused on a frame of her flapping her flamingo wings like she was about to take off. "What is this?" she demanded, her voice low and terrifying. She took a step closer, and I instinctively backed up, bumping into the coffee table. Lisa had come downstairs by now, rubbing her eyes as she tried to figure out what was going on. "Mom, what's wrong?" she asked. But Margaret ignored her, her laser-focused glare fixed on me. I can explain," I stammered, holding up my hands like I was trying to ward off a wild animal. It's just a video, Margaret. I didn't think it would... You didn't think? She shouted, cutting me off. You posted this humiliation for the whole world to see. Do you have any idea what you've done, Jake? My book club friends saw it. My knitting group saw it. The pastor from church called me this morning to ask if I was okay. She threw her phone onto the couch, where it landed with a soft thud, and I saw Lisa's eyes widen as she realized what was happening. Mom, I told him to post it, Lisa said, stepping between us. It's funny, okay? People love it. You're kind of a celebrity now, Flamingo Grandma. She tried to smile, but Margaret's glare shifted to her, and Lisa's smile faltered. Flamingo Grandma? Margaret snapped, her voice rising to a pitch that made my ears ring. I am a respected member of this community, Lisa. I taught children for 30 years. I've been on the church bake sale committee for a decade, and now I'm a laughingstock because of your husband and his stupid little hobby. She turned back to me, pointing a trembling finger in my direction. You're going to take that video down right now, Jake, or I swear I'll make your life miserable. I'll tell Lisa you've been sneaking around behind her back. I'll tell her about that time I caught you eating her birthday cake before the party and blamed it on the dog. I'll tell her everything. I froze, my mouth going dry. Margaret was bluffing about the sneaking around part. I'd never cheated on Lisa, and she knew it, but the birthday cake thing, that was real. It had happened 2 years ago when I'd gotten hungry the night before Lisa's party and eaten half the cake she'd been saving for her celebration. I'd blamed it on our old dog Max, who'd gotten sick from the frosting I'd smeared on his paws to make the story believable. Lisa had been furious and Max had to go to the vet. If Margaret told her the truth, I'd be sleeping on the couch for a month. You ate my birthday cake? Lisa asked, turning to me with a look that could have melted steel. Her arms were crossed, and I could tell she was trying to decide whether to laugh or yell. No, I mean yes, but... Margaret, come on, I said, turning back to my mother-in-law. You can't just threaten me like that. It's my channel, my video, and honestly, you looked like you were having fun out there. Why are you so ashamed of it? People love it. They're calling you a legend. Margaret's face turned, an even deeper shade of red, and for a second I thought she might actually explode. Fun! She shouted, taking another step toward me. That was private, Jake. I've been doing that dance for years. It's how I de-stress. After your father-in-law passed, I needed something to make me feel, alive again. I put on my costume, I play my music, and I forget about the world for a little while. It's not for you to broadcast to millions of strangers. She grabbed her phone off the couch and stormed upstairs, slamming her bedroom door so hard I heard a picture frame fall off the wall in the hallway. Lisa sighed, running a hand through her hair. Jake, you need to fix this, she said, her tone serious. I know it's funny, and I know your channel is important to you, but that's my mum. She's humiliated. You can't just leave that video up. I nodded, feeling a wave of guilt wash over me. Lisa was right, I'd crossed a line, but taking the video down felt like giving up on the one thing that had finally made my channel successful. I spent the next few days trying to make things right with Margaret. I baked her favorite lemon cookies, even though I accidentally used salt instead of sugar in the first batch and had to start over. I offered to mow the lawn for a month, even though I knew she'd probably criticize the way I did it. I even bought her a new knitting kit complete with fancy yarn and a set of needles and left it on her bedroom door with a note that said, "I'm sorry, let's talk." But every time I tried to approach her, she'd just glare at me and say, "Take it down." Meanwhile, the video kept gaining traction. It hit 5 million views by the end of the week, and my subscriber count was climbing toward 50,000. I started getting emails from brands wanting to sponsor me, everything from gardening tools to a company that sold flamingo-themed lawn decorations. A local news station even reached out, asking if they could interview Flamingo Grandma for a segment on viral internet stars. I was torn. On one hand, this was my big break, the kind of thing I'd been dreaming of since I started my channel. On the other, My mother-in-law was ready to ruin my marriage over it, and Lisa was starting to side with her. I had to find a way to make this right, but Margaret wasn't done with me yet. A week after the video went viral, I came home from a long shift at the hardware store, my feet aching from standing for 8 hours straight. I'd spent the whole day replaying Margaret's threats in my head, trying to figure out how to fix this mess without losing everything I'd gained. I walked into the kitchen, expecting to find Lisa making dinner. She'd promised to try a new pasta recipe she'd found online, but instead I found Margaret sitting at the table, a cup of tea in her hands and a smug look on her face that made my stomach twist. "Jake," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness, "I have something to show you." She slid her phone across the table, and I saw a video playing, a grainy clip of me taken from behind the shed. I was dancing around in my gardening gloves, pretending to be a scarecrow to scare off a squirrel that had been digging up my tomato plants. I'd done it a few months ago, thinking no one was around, and I looked absolutely ridiculous, flailing my arms and making these weird crow noises that sounded more like a dying cat. I'd even added a little hop at the end, thinking it would make the squirrel run away faster. It didn't work. The squirrel just stared at me like I was an idiot. But apparently Margaret had been watching. "I recorded this a while back," Margaret said, her smirk growing wider. "I was going to keep it to myself, but since you seem to think it's okay to share private moments online, maybe I should post this on your little channel. What do you think? Scarecrow Jake has a nice ring to it, don't you think?" My stomach dropped. If that video got out, I'd never live it down. My subscribers would lose all respect for me. I'd go from gardening guy to that weirdo who dances like a scarecrow. I could already imagine the comments. "Unsubscribed, this guy's a clown. What is wrong with him?" I'd be a laughingstock, and my channel would probably die overnight. "Margaret, you wouldn't," I said, my voice shaking as I stared at the screen. The video looped, and I winced as I watched myself do that stupid little hop again. "Oh, I would," she replied, leaning back in her chair and taking a sip of her tea. "Unless you take my video down by tomorrow morning, this is going live, and I'll make sure Lisa sees it first." She stood up, her cardigan swishing as she walked out of the kitchen, leaving me alone with her phone and my growing sense of dread. I sat there for a long time, staring at the paused video of myself. I couldn't believe she'd recorded me. How long had she been holding on to this? And why? Was this her way of getting back at me for all the times I'd left my muddy boots on the porch? Or was she just waiting for the perfect moment to strike? I felt a mix of anger and panic bubbling up inside me. I'd worked so hard to build my channel, and now it was all hanging by a thread because of a stupid dance I'd done to scare off a squirrel. That night, I sat in my room, my laptop open on my desk. The Flamingo video was still racking up views, 7 million now, and my subscriber count had hit 60,000. I'd gotten an offer from a gardening tool company to sponsor my next video for $1,000, and a local radio station had invited me to come on their morning show to talk about my viral success. This was everything I'd ever wanted for my channel. But if I kept the video up, Margaret would post that scarecrow clip and I'd be the laughingstock of the internet. Plus, Lisa was already mad at me for not taking it down sooner. She'd barely spoken to me all week, and I could tell she was starting to lose patience. I thought about deleting the video, but then I had an idea. What if I could convince Margaret to embrace her newfound fame? Maybe I could get her to do a follow-up video with me, something light-hearted like Flamingo, Grandma teaches me to dance. It could be a way to make peace and keep my channel growing. I spent the next hour planning it out in my head, imagining how we could turn this whole mess into something positive. I even sketched out a little script, complete with a scene where I'd try to do the flamingo dance myself and probably fall flat on my face. My subscribers would love that. The next morning, I found Margaret in the living room, knitting a scarf that looked like it was going to be longer than our driveway. "Margaret, can we talk?" I asked, sitting down on the couch across from her. She didn't look up, her needles clicking together with a rhythm that felt oddly threatening. "I have an idea," I continued, trying to sound confident. "What if we did a follow-up video together? You could teach me the flamingo dance. It'd be fun. People love you, and this could be a way to show them you're in on the joke." She finally looked up, her eyes narrowing as she set her knitting down. "You think I'm going to dance for your little viewers again?" she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "You're delusional, Jake. I don't want to be a spectacle. I want my privacy back. Take it down, or Scarecrow Jake goes live at noon." She picked up her knitting again, her needles moving faster now, like she was channeling all her anger into that scarf. I was out of options. I went back to my room, my stomach in knots, and opened my laptop. I was about to hit the delete button on the Flamingo video when Lisa walked in, holding an envelope. "This came for Mum," she said, handing it to me. I opened it, and my jaw dropped. It was an invitation from a local dance studio. They'd seen the Flamingo video and wanted to hire Margaret to teach a Flamingo fitness class for seniors. They were offering her $500 a session, and they'd even included a little note. "We think you're an inspiration, Flamingo Grandma. Let's bring your energy to our community." I rushed back to the living room, waving the letter in the air. "Margaret, look at this," I said, my voice full of excitement. "A dance studio wants to hire you to teach a class. They're offering $500 a session. See? People love you. You could turn this into something amazing." For a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of interest in her eyes as she read the letter. But then she snatched it from my hand and tore it in half, the pieces fluttering to the floor like confetti. "I don't want to be a spectacle, Jake," she said, her voice cold. "I want my privacy back. You have 1 hour." She turned back to her knitting, leaving me standing there with my mouth open, the torn letter at my feet. Now I'm sitting here, staring at my laptop, the clock ticking down. The Flamingo video is still up, racking up views by the second, but Margaret's threat looms over me like a dark cloud. Do I take the video down and lose my shot at YouTube success, or do I call her bluff and risk Scarecrow Jake going viral? I've got 30 minutes left to decide, and I'm completely torn. What would you do in my shoes?